It's a quiet Friday morning in downtown Albuquerque, New Mexico. The kind of morning where everything feels normal. People heading to work, the sun just coming up, streets still half empty. But in a narrow back alley tucked between buildings, someone is already parked, waiting, still. And they're watching for one specific person. A 16-year-old boy turns the corner into that alley. He's wearing his work apron, heading in for his shift at a nearby diner. He's young, he's got a job, he's got a girl who loves him, and in just a few months, he's going to be a father. He has no idea that someone in a parked car is watching his every step. Then, a single gunshot shatters the morning silence. One bullet, fired straight at his head. And just like that, a boy who was going to be a father is gone. Welcome to Chilling True Crime, the channel that goes deep into the cases that will shake you to your core. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe right now, because after today's case, you are not going to want to miss what comes next. Within seconds of the gunshot, a car speeds out of that alley and vanishes into the streets. The shooter is already gone, and moments later, 911 calls begin flooding in. Officers rush to the scene and turn into that alley, and what they find stops them cold. A teenage boy is lying flat on the pavement, blood pooling beneath his head, a gunshot wound visible just above his temple. There's no weapon left behind, no suspect in sight, no clear reason why this boy was targeted. Just a teenager on the ground, still wearing his restaurant apron, and a city full of unanswered questions. That apron becomes the first real clue. Detectives cross the street to the only restaurant nearby, Lindy's Diner, and the moment they walk in, the staff recognizes him immediately. His name is Jay Ruiz, but everyone called him Jay. 16 years old, a dishwasher who had only started a few weeks earlier, a quiet kid just trying to make some money. Officers track down the one person they need to speak with most urgently, Jay's grandfather, the man who raised him. When he arrives and sees his grandson lying there, he holds himself together in a way that is almost impossible to watch. But through the grief, he tells detectives something important. Lately, Jay had been caught up in something he refused to talk about, something his grandfather couldn't get the truth out of him about, no matter how many times he asked. He feared it might be what got him killed. And then he adds one final detail, one that takes this tragedy and makes it even heavier. "He called me this morning," the grandfather says quietly. "He told me, 'You're going to be a great grandpa.'" Jay's girlfriend is pregnant with his child. She's only 17 years old, and right now, she has absolutely no idea that the father of her baby is dead. But what detectives are about to discover when they go to speak with her will turn this case completely upside down. A few hours after the shooting, detectives arrive at the apartment where Jay's girlfriend has been waiting, 17-year-old Elizabeth Baldonado. She's sitting there red-eyed, completely broken. Just hours ago, she was texting Jay like any normal morning. He was getting ready for his shift. They were planning doctor appointments for their pregnancy. Then, he stopped answering. And now, she knows why. Detectives gently begin questioning her, trying to piece together Jay's last hours. At first, Elizabeth doesn't give them much. She says Jay kept a lot of things to himself, didn't talk much about his problems. But then, she mentions something that makes detectives sit up straight. Earlier that morning, Jay had been planning to meet someone, her younger brother, Angelo Baldonado. According to Elizabeth, the two boys had never really gotten along. Things had recently boiled over during an argument between her and Jay. Angelo jumped in to defend his sister. It got heated, and the beef between them had turned into a planned fight, a boxing match, Jay's idea, to settle things man to man. Elizabeth insists it was nothing serious, just teenage drama, not connected to the murder. But detectives aren't so sure, because the timeline is too suspicious to ignore. Jay stopped responding to Elizabeth's messages at 11:20 a.m., the exact same time investigators believe he was shot. Meanwhile, back at the crime scene, something important has been discovered. A surveillance camera mounted outside a nearby school was pointed directly toward the alley. When detectives review the footage, they finally see it. Right after the gunshot, a gold-colored sedan accelerates hard out of the alley and disappears down the street. The quality isn't perfect, but through the tinted windows, detectives can make out at least two figures inside. The shooter didn't act alone. Now they have their first real lead, A gold car, at least 2 suspects, and the 15-second window before they vanish completely. Back at the apartment, detectives are still collecting statements when another woman walks through the door. Elizabeth's mother, Maritza Ortiz Chavez. She says she's there to comfort her daughter. The conversation starts casually enough. Then, one detective asks a simple question, almost like it's just routine paperwork. "What kind of car do you drive?" Chavez answers without blinking. "A gold Toyota." The detective goes very still. That's the same car, same color, same make. Trying to stay calm, the detective follows up. "Do you still have it? Where is it now?" And here's where the story takes a dark turn. Chavez says the car broke down on her that morning. She had to leave it on the side of the road. She doesn't have it anymore. Detectives immediately sent officers to check the location she described. The car is not there. It's completely gone. Now a routine interview with a grieving mother has become something far more serious, because investigators are now staring down a disturbing possibility. The gold car on that surveillance footage, the one seen speeding away seconds after Jay was shot, might belong to the victim's own girlfriend's mother. And if that's true, someone inside this family is hiding a deadly secret. And Detective Ana Bruciaga is not going to stop until she pulls it out of them. Most detectives would wait, collect more evidence, build a stronger case, do things by the book. But Detective Ana Bruciaga isn't most detectives. She's been in this apartment less than a day. The body is barely cold, and she's already convinced that someone in this room knows exactly what happened in that alley. So she sits Ortiz Chavez down, privately, and goes straight for the throat. "I believe your car was used in today's homicide." Chavez doesn't flinch. She calmly denies it, says the car broke down, says if it was at the scene, someone must have stolen it. But Bruciaga isn't backing down. She brings up the name everyone in the room has been carefully avoiding: Angelo Baldonado, Chavez's teenage son. "What are the odds," the detective says slowly, "that your son has a serious problem with Jay and your car shows up at the scene where Jay is killed?" Chavez defends her son immediately. She says Angela was with her all morning. They went together to a job interview, then came straight home. Her timeline places him nowhere near that alley. But even as she explains it, something feels off, because Ortiz Chavez is not reacting like a mother should. A mother hearing that her son might be connected to a murder would be terrified, angry, hysterical. Chavez is none of those things. She's calm. Almost too calm. Her eyes are steady, her voice never shakes. She sits with the kind of stillness that only comes from someone who already knew this conversation was coming. And that stillness is what convinces Bruciaga to push even further with a question most investigators would never ask this early. "Did you shoot him?" Chavez looks up slowly. "No," she says quietly. "He was a baby." The detective leans in. She tells Chavez that the surveillance footage is being reviewed, that forensics are being processed, that the truth is going to come out whether Chavez cooperates or not. But Chavez doesn't crack. She sticks to her story. Car broke down, doesn't know what happened to it, had nothing to do with Jay's death. Without solid evidence, the interview ends. Bruciaga walks away frustrated, but more convinced than ever. Within the hour, investigators track down Angelo at his workplace. The teenager seems calm when officers approach, almost too prepared. He confirms what his mother and sister already said. Yes, there was tension between him and Jay. Yes, Jay had wanted to fight, but Angelo says the fight never happened. He backed off, moved on. His story matches his mother's timeline, almost perfectly. But before detectives can dig deeper, Chavez shows up. And this time, she's done cooperating. She steps in front of her son, cuts off the interview, and makes it clear, no more questions without a lawyer.
But he's not in trouble, so he doesn't have to be 18 for us to talk to him. I don't want to send him for it. I mean, it's up to him. If he doesn't want you here, he doesn't have to have you here.
Huh?
Yeah, my sister. And the bars here. I had to have him go pick up.
Talk to my sister.
So there is one thing that we are going to need, just like you told with your sister, we didn't get your phone. So we're going to secure it. We're going to do a warrant.
I need it.
No.
I don't have a phone.
But your daughter's
an investigation like I explained to you earlier, Elizabeth. I'm taking your phone. You're not getting it back until I'm done with it. But as soon as I'm done with it, I will give it back to you.
Do you want me to take you to go find where your car was left? Because we've been all over there and we can't find it anywhere.
Well, I'm gonna go shortly here, but I want to make sure that my kids and my family get home. And right now, my biggest concern is
Officers are forced to step back, but they leave with one thing: the family's phones. If the Baldonado family is hiding something, their own messages are going to expose them. And over the next several weeks, as investigators comb through every text, every call log, every deleted message, they uncover something that rewrites the entire case. Because this was never a random killing. Jay's death had been building for days, and the messages buried inside those phones prove it. The phones don't lie. Weeks after the shooting, detectives are sitting in a quiet room going through every single message pulled from the Baldonado family's devices, and what they find changes everything. The first message that stops them cold is one from Elizabeth, sent to Jay the morning of the murder. Mom said they'll be there at 8. Detectives stare at that line. Who is they, and what was happening at 8? As they dig deeper, the picture becomes clear. The planned boxing match between Jay and Angelo wasn't just some informal teenage beef. Ortiz Chavez had been actively involved in setting it up. She knew. She arranged it. She let it happen. And then another message from Elizabeth surfaces, one that sends a chill through the entire investigation team. I'll be there too, because I don't want them pulling a gun. Read that again. Elizabeth was worried about a gun showing up at what was supposed to be a simple fistfight. That is not how teenagers talk about a friendly boxing match. The messages between Jay and Elizabeth also reveal that their relationship had been falling apart. In one exchange, Jay is cold and final. I'll talk to you when it comes to the baby, but I'm done with this. He had broken up with her. And if he had ended things with Elizabeth, that meant someone in her family might have been furious about it. Furious enough to want revenge. Then comes the name that keeps appearing in the messages: Elizabeth's older brother, Gilbert Baldonado. Gilbert's texts are nothing like Angelo's. Where Angelo seemed to back off, Gilbert escalated. In one message, he threatens Jay directly. He's going to catch one. That phrase means one thing: someone is going to get shot. And then investigators find the message that makes her blood run cold. Gilbert texts someone and says, "Delete our messages. Don't say anything about me saying I was going to shoot him." He's not just threatening, he's already trying to cover his tracks. By the end of the review, Detective Bruciaga is convinced the family's involvement goes deeper than anyone imagined. Gilbert may have supplied the weapon or pulled the trigger himself. Angelo may have been there, and Chavez, by arranging the fight and then disposing of her car, may have tried to bury all of it. But there's a wall investigators can't get past. Both Angelo and Elizabeth are still minors, and Chavez refuses to let police speak with either of them. For weeks, the case stalls, until Elizabeth's 18th birthday changes everything. The moment she turns 18, her mother can no longer legally block her from talking to investigators. Detective Bruciaga moves fast and convinces Elizabeth to come down to the station. She tells her it's just a follow-up, leaves out the part about the messages. But the moment Elizabeth sits down, the interrogation begins. Bruciaga hits her immediately. "I've been through your phone. I've been through your brother's phone, and I believe you know who killed Jay." Elizabeth goes rigid. She denies everything.
like 7 days.
So, Elizabeth, we talked last time and I know you were very upset and I can't imagine what you're going through because you're kind of put in between, but I already know you know what happened.
Oh, I don't. I don't know what happened at all. All I know is that when his grandpa got back, he told me that Jay was dead.
I would just hate, and I truly, from the bottom of my heart, still believe that you weren't involved. But I would just hate to find out that you were involved. And then where does that baby go? Because he no longer has a dad. That day, there was a witness that describes a female matching your exact description, talking to Josue right before he gets shot.
I was at the house.
Okay. Do you
Says
realize?
she loved Jay more than her own life. But Bruciaga keeps pushing, laying out every message, every threat, every suspicious detail. She tells Elizabeth that witnesses saw a girl matching her exact description right before Jay was shot. Elizabeth shuts down completely. "My family didn't do this. You're just looking for someone to blame." And then Bruciaga says the one thing that breaks her. That baby is never going to have a father, and the people who took him away are the same people you're protecting. Elizabeth dissolves into tears. But even through the breakdown, she doesn't confess. She doesn't give a name. She just keeps repeating that her family is innocent. With nothing new from Elizabeth, the interview ends. Detectives walk out empty-handed, but Bruciaga knows she's close. And a few weeks later, the breakthrough she's been waiting for finally arrives. From the last place she ever expected. Elizabeth gives birth to Jay's son in November 2022. She posts photos on social media, a young mother trying to rebuild, smiling with her baby, moving forward. On the surface, it looks like life is slowly returning to normal for the Baldonado family. Her brother Angelo is still in juvenile detention awaiting trial. The case appears to be winding down. Jay's family begins to find some peace, believing his killer is finally behind bars. And then, in March 2023, a phone call comes in that destroys everything. A woman contacts detectives. She says she's been watching Gilbert Baldonado on Facebook. She noticed he seemed angry, unstable, and willing to talk, so she decided to message him. What he told her was a confession. Gilbert tells this woman that the whole thing started because Jay had been treating Elizabeth badly. Their mother, Ortiz Chavez, had arranged for the boys to confront him that morning. But what happened in that alley was never just a fist fight. Gilbert says, "My little brother ain't telling on my mom." The woman pushes him. "So your mom did it and let your brother go down?" Gilbert replies with one word, "Yep." Detectives go completely still when they hear this. All this time, they had been looking at Angelo and Gilbert. They suspected the brothers. They theorized about who handed over the gun. They considered every combination. But the person who actually walked up to Jay in that alley, the person who pulled the trigger and put a bullet in a 16-year-old boy's head, was his girlfriend's mother, Ortiz Chavez. Investigators now believe Chavez had orchestrated the entire thing. From the beginning, she arranged the so-called boxing match as a setup, luring Jay to that alley under the pretense of a fight with her son. Then she drove there herself, parked in the shadows, and when Jay walked into that alley, she shot him once, and then she drove away. She disposed of her own car to eliminate the evidence, she coached her children on what to say, and she let her 16-year-old son Angelo sit in a juvenile detention center, taking the blame for something she did. A mother sacrificed her own child to protect herself. But detectives still need more than a Facebook conversation. They begin secretly monitoring jail calls between Chavez and Angelo. Most of the calls are careful, coded, nothing solid. Until one day, Chavez makes a mistake. When Angelo asks why his brother Gilbert seems so sad, Chavez says quietly, without thinking, "He's heartbroken you're in there. I told him it's because I messed up, because I'm stupid." That's enough. Bruciaga visits Angelo at the detention center immediately, and this time, Angelo is ready to talk. He's been sitting in that cell for over a year for something his mother did. He's watched his baby sister have a baby alone. He's watched his family fall apart. He agrees to cooperate. He confirms everything. His mother drove to that alley. His mother fired the shot. His mother told her children to stay quiet. With both sons now pointing at Chavez, an arrest warrant is issued. Ortiz Chavez is taken into custody. Detective Bruciaga brings her into the interrogation room one final time, not to fight her, but to give her a chance to tell her own story. Chavez immediately asks for a lawyer, and that's it. The interview is over before it begins. The case goes to trial. Prosecutors present the full picture, the surveillance footage of Chavez's gold Toyota, the text messages arranging the fight, Gilbert's Facebook confession, the jail call recordings, and the testimony of both sons. They argue Chavez was furious at Jay for how he treated her daughter. She calculated that if Angelo took the blame, he'd face far lighter consequences as a juvenile. She was willing to let her own son rot in a cell to save herself. In the end, justice arrives. Angelo Baldonado pleads guilty to conspiracy charges and is sentenced to remain in juvenile detention until age 21. And Ortiz Chavez, the woman who pulled the trigger, disposed of her own car, and watched her teenage son take the fall, pleads guilty to second-degree murder. In May 2025, she receives the maximum penalty, 18 years in state prison. She will be in her 60s before she ever breathes free air. Jay's son will grow up, never knowing his father. Elizabeth will spend a lifetime carrying the weight of what her own mother did. And somewhere in all of this wreckage is a simple truth. Jay walked into that alley on a Friday morning, wearing his work apron, headed to his job, thinking about his baby on the way. He never made it because the person waiting for him was someone who should have protected him. If this case gave you chills, you are not alone. Make sure you subscribe to Chilling True Crime and hit that notification bell so you never miss a case. Drop in the comments, did you suspect the mother from the beginning, or did the ending catch you off guard? Because on this channel, the truth is always stranger and darker than you think. Stay chillin'.